Students, families, friends, members of the Parr Center Faculty Advisory Council, deans, UNC Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz, keynote speaker Gary Parr, other distinguished guests, welcome. I'm Sarah Stroud, Director of the Parr Center for Ethics. On behalf of the entire Parr Center team and students, thank you so much for coming. We are delighted to have you with us for this virtual end-of-year celebration and poster show. Without further ado, I will now hand things off to our MC for this evening, our intrepid, inimitable, inspirational Director of Undergraduate Programming, Sally Moore.
First, we'll have Alexandra Corbett. So Alexandra was welcomed into the Parr Center Fellowship this year after several years of her starting her own student-led groups in the philosophy department. She's worked to grow the UNC Philosophy Club. She's co-created a UNC student philosophy journal and was a leading member of this year's Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl team. She did all of this while keeping up with her classes and having a job at the Carolina Inn working long hours. She's an incredible source of joy and a fierce philosopher and ethicist. We know she has a bright future full of wonderful ethics jokes, beautifully crafted cards, and encouraging others to join her in her philosophical pursuits. So, without further ado, Alexandra.
Hey, I will try not to cry during this speech. I'm a little bit sentimental, so if I do, my apologies in advance. So good evening, fellows and staff members at the Parr Center. It breaks my heart to be delivering this speech now, especially under these circumstances. If I could return to the beginning of my undergraduate career and spend another 4 years here, I would. I can't tell you what I'd give right now to have just a few more days with a lot of the people I've met here at the Parr Center. The Parr Center has been instrumental in making me feel at home at Carolina. It wasn't long after orientation that I found myself wandering over there anytime I had a free hour during my day. Before I joined the Parr Center, I enjoyed my time at UNC, but it was becoming a fellow that made my undergraduate experience truly spectacular. Being a part of the Parr Center has made me a part of a community of people who are equally as passionate about ethics as I am, but that isn't why I love being a fellow here so much. I love having the opportunity to surround myself with caring and driven people who constantly inspire me by finding new ways to demonstrate how philosophy can be applied to different disciplines and areas in life. When I reflect upon my senior year, my thoughts will be populated by happy memories of drinking tea and complaining about utilitarianism in the office, of Darian and Hunter getting into debates about ethics during our pod meetings, of continuously losing to Jackie week after week in our bake-off, except that one time I won brownie week, of racing into Alex's office with excitement the day the National High School Ethics Bowl cases were released, and of picnics on the quad with friends I made at the Parr Center. The Parr Center has introduced me to some of my closest friends and to many people that I hope to know for the rest of my life. One of the things I'll miss most about being an undergraduate at Carolina is getting the pleasure of being a part of this community. It's my sincerest hope that this isn't goodbye. While we all may change and grow significantly in the time between now and when we see each other next, I'm certain that I'll always be glad to have any of you be a part of my life. This has been a great source of meaning for me during my senior year, so I want to thank you all for everything that you do and for helping make this my happiest year at Carolina.
Our next senior speaker is Jackie Wang. Jackie also started the fellowship this year, even though I had my eye on him for a couple of years because I'd heard about him from our teaching fellow a couple years back about how contagious Jackie's personality was and how incredibly passionate he was about ethics and the Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl team and the National High School Ethics Bowl. So he'd been vetted a little bit. Jackie was on the 2018-2019 team. He's written multiple compelling case studies that were featured in the National High School Ethics Bowl competitions in previous years and this year. And then finally this year, he's brought joy and more baked goods than humanly possible to the Parr Center. Jackie is a true once-in-a-lifetime type of person, and I'm so lucky to have worked with him. So, everyone, here's Jackie.
I've had a really wonderful year. You know, between the stresses of exams and paper deadlines, it's hard to recognize that sometimes, and especially now. But I really have had a fantastic year, one that I've enjoyed far, far more than any other year in my undergraduate career or my life for that matter, which brings out a sort of regret in having not sooner done the things that have made this year so great. I love this year because of the new friends I've made, and these are some people that I wish I had met sooner. I love this year because of the exciting projects I've gotten pursued. And these are some of the projects I wish I pursued sooner. I love this year because of the wonderful people I've gotten to work with. And these are some of the people I wish I worked with sooner. And in my years of writing philosophy papers, I've learned to be succinct in the points I'm trying to make. And so I really should sum up all these things to, I wish I had joined the Parr Center sooner. As cliche as it sounds, the Parr Center has truly become a second home for me. For those of you who hang around the place, you've probably seen me. I'm always there. I remember one of our grad students, Pavel, walking into the conference room once and asking me, do you live here? And I proudly responded, yeah, basically. And, for more than a free coffee, of course. I remember one of the activities we had during the ropes course at the beginning of this year, where we stood outside of a circle with the outside representing a place of comfort and the inside representing a place where we felt challenged. Now, intuitively, this dichotomy feels like it makes sense, but upon deeper inspection, the analogy sort of falls apart because there exist places where we can feel at home and feel challenged. And the Parr Center has been that, a paradigm of this seeming paradox, a place full of passionate people working together, focused on the ways that we can make the discussion of ethics challenging and yet accessible, academic and yet leisurely, universal and yet deeply personal. From those working on assembling forums to bring in experts in discussing an ethical issue, to those writing blog posts on the way ethics touches our daily lives, to our fellows working on a podcast or on Rob's Pod or the app, to how we all woke up at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning in order to make sure the North Carolina High School Ethics Bowl ran efficiently, it's been nothing short of inspiring watching people not just work, but care about what they're working on. To Marina, Jordan, Rob, Alec, Sarah, and Sally, thank you for being wonderful, warm, and friendly presenters in the office. To those in my pod, Guido, Spencer, Alec, Alex, Dominique, Jonathan, Scott, thank you for making every pod meeting something I look forward to, and thank you for letting me experience what it's like to work with a group that's somehow both a train wreck and a well-oiled machine. To my other friends I've made in the Parr Center, thank you for the memories, for the incredible insights to difficult ethical problems, and for helping cut down food waste by eating the sweets that Alexandra and I insist on bringing in. To all the other fellows, staff, and grad students I haven't mentioned, thank you for being people whom I greatly admire and would love to get to know better. Please feel free to reach out to me. That's not cheesiness. I know that this was supposed to be the senior reflection, but I'm not here to deliver on how being a fellow will impact me in the future or how it's changed me as a person or what life lessons I've learned, because quite frankly, those lessons can't be reflected on quite yet. I think those lessons are only realized when they're called into practice, maybe further down the road when I've come across a difficult personal ethical dilemma. But on rainy days like this one, I will reflect on my time here at the Parr Center fondly. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, you have all impacted me in a profoundly positive way, and for that, I'm grateful. Thank you.
It is now my honor and privilege to introduce as our next speaker one of Carolina's most successful and distinguished alumni, Gary Parr. Gary Parr was born in Burlington, North Carolina, into a family who had been Tar Heels for several generations. After transferring to Carolina, Gary Parr earned a BSBA with honors from UNC's Keenan Flagler Business School and an MBA at Northwestern. He has been a leading figure in the world of finance for more than 30 years, having held top positions at such firms as Wasserstein Perella, Lazard, and now Apollo Global Management, where he is Senior Managing Director. In 2017, he and his wife co-founded Parr Chocolat, an ethically sourced and sustainable luxury chocolate brand, for which he has now been dubbed the Willy Wonka of Wall Street. As notable as his professional success has been Gary Parr's commitment to philanthropy in education and the arts. He is a former chairman of the board of the New York Philharmonic and of Venetian Heritage, and as a proud UNC alum, he has supported his alma mater for many years. Most significantly, he generously endowed the Parr Center for Ethics in 2004, thereby ensuring that there would be a focal point for ethics at Carolina in perpetuity. He has continued to be a strong supporter of the Parr Center's activities right up to this day. Please welcome our founding donor, Gary Parr.
It's a pleasure to be with you all. This is your occasion, so I'm going to be brief. I congratulate all of you students who have been involved in the Parr Center. The things you've done, it's interesting, I looked at the list of about you all, So this being about you all, I looked at the list of those of you all graduating, and I had a few observations. One is I was delighted to see non-US students. Far too many Americans say international, but I know that for one of you is from Glasgow and one of you is from France, and we're international to you all. So people coming from around the world and being a part of this is a wonderful way to infuse different perspective and thoughts. The second is I saw that many of you all have been involved in the high school ethics bowl. That's an incredible endeavor, led by, there in Chapel Hill and led by Jeff Sarah McCord, who I'll come to in a moment. I'm glad you all were involved and making that this really something special. I saw that one of you is graduating, going to work in Charlotte, which is where indeed I grew up most of my years. So a nice place. One of you is staying permanently at the Parr Center. That's fantastic. What a special, I'm envious, actually. That sounds like a really cool thing to do. And one of you in your picture had the good taste to have a bold red flower placed over your ear. I was impressed. That was cool. Let me come to actually a few other folks in this gathering. Sarah, of course, you all know, joined relatively recently in the span of the Parr Center and has just been doing a fantastic job as the director. I couldn't be happier. Kevin, thank you for being here. You should all say a collective thank you. Kevin is an extremely busy person. And he was one of the most supportive people when he was dean of the college. That's when I got to know Kevin. In fact, I guess it was when he was assistant dean. Just an extraordinary individual. The university is so fortunate to have Kevin as the chancellor. He's going to do some great things. And lastly, you all, if you've scrolled through, Jeff Sarah McCord is here. I didn't know he was going to be. I'll come to some more, just in my very brief remarks about Jeff. Let me observe, you all have shown more wisdom than I certainly had when I was at Carolina. And by that, I mean, you've realized already the importance of ethics, the importance of thinking about it, talking about it, engaging in it. And I don't mind admitting, when I was at Carolina, I was rather singularly focused on graduating with a business undergraduate, getting on to an MBA, and getting on with my career. It is something that I endeavored to this day to fix. But you, on the other hand, have already recognized the importance of this. I came a little later to that story. A little history about the founding of the Parr Center. It was about 15 years after I left Carolina that I began to realize that I was facing so many ethical decisions, difficult decisions, and I didn't feel I had a sufficient framework for thinking about it, how to think about the consequences, different ways to look at the issues, and indeed how to get to a good decision. So with that, I embarked on a journey, really, at Carolina of how could Carolina, what did I miss? What did Carolina have that I wish I had done and been able to avail myself of? And so I spent time in the business school doing some things, and then the Institute of Arts and Humanities. And then I was introduced to Jeff Sarah McCord. And it was Jeff that made everything happen. I just kind of went along for the ride. There was, at Carolina, it was like a petri dish. Carolina had over 100 courses being taught in ethics, so it was clearly an important subject at the university, both in the college and in the professional schools. But there was something missing, and that was a place to bring it all together so that people from different disciplines could come together and engage in the conversations, discussions, and indeed learn from each other, learn from different segments. So again, with Jeff's guidance, and actually the chancellor at that time, Chancellor Hooker, gave wonderful support, and the dean of the college. We all collectively created this center in Switzerland, and that is the philosophy department. I joke with Jeff and others, when you're creating a center, universities have, of course, lots of different power bases, lots of important people, no one more important than the chancellor, but other people that have different opinions. So to have the center be successful, We went in search of Switzerland. That is to say, the neutral place where indeed the dean from the law school, dean from medical school, business school, and others would actually be all supportive. And of course, what is Switzerland? The philosophy department. And as I jokingly say to Jeff, no one is threatened by the philosophy department. So there we are. It's now resident there and with great success. Let me offer up two lessons that I hope you will maybe carry with you, but I've certainly learned over the years. One is partnerships. Do partnerships. The success of the Parr Center is a result of partnerships. It was the university. It was individuals. It was a number of outsiders. We had a very good board at the outset, including Erskine Bowles, who went on to be the president of the entire system, and a name you all might recognize, and some other very relevant people, all giving their input. It was a partnership. It came together to be something the most powerful it could be because of engagement of multiple people from multiple disciplines, multiple perspectives. And it happens when you work in partnerships. You also end up, as I can say about Jeff, with one of my best friends. We have been best of friends for almost 20 years. And it just couldn't be more important to me. My second bit of advice, so one is do partnerships. And the second one is for you all as individuals, be a real influencer. Now, so obviously I know enough about social media to know that influencer is a category, it's a descriptive, frequently, and in fact, most often with negative connotation because it's remarkably superficial. Here's how you should be a real influencer. Every day, every week, every month, you will be in groups of people that are facing decisions. They're talking about how to make decisions, how to do things. Sometimes it's small decisions, sometimes they're very big decisions. And when those discussions take place, it is extraordinarily helpful to have someone in the group of people who is thinking about the ethical implications. You don't even have to label it as such. You don't have to say, oh, now let me give the ethical perspective. Just weave it into a discussion. Give your perspective about how there might be trade-offs. What are the consequences for others? How might one think about the dilemma? And lead people to directions, to decisions. I have found, not for me personally, lecturing people can come across as condescending. It can be just wrong-footed. And indeed, with me, I'm probably wrong anyway. So the idea is guide people. Be an influencer. I can just reflect on the number of times, including, let me give you a real-time perspective, in the last month, with the pandemic, the number of decisions that business people and politicians have had to make where they are weighing extraordinarily complicated ethical decisions is staggering. Friends of mine have had to make decisions to lay off tens of thousands of people. It was heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, something they never thought they would have to face. But then they had to make the ethical decision, but do we continue to pay their health care? How do we think about their health care? Other people I know have had to make decisions about leaving big warehouses operating, and are their employees now at risk? What do you do to protect those employees? What is your obligation to employees relative to shareholders, relative to customers? But I use that as the example of the past month. I could pick any month in my career and tell you about difficult ethical decisions where what you all have been learning is extraordinarily helpful. So my advice, my lesson is work in partnerships. And secondly, you all as individuals be real influencers. So thanks again for letting me be a part of this. Your conversations already about the Parr Center and its success was bringing tears to my eyes. This was a dream. You all have made something happen I never could have made happen. So other than maybe just putting a little drop of success into a petri dish. So thank you.
If we were in person right now, what we would do is we would call out the student's name. They would come forward. We would say a few words about them, and then we would hand them a Parr Center graduation cord, a certificate, and a special wrapped gift. Since we are virtual, we can't really do that right now, but we have collected all of the addresses of our seniors and international students. We have ordered all of our gifts for them. And so, Marina, if you wanted to show those off, that is our graduation cord, our stained glass ginkgo leaf, which is our present for everyone. And then there's also a certificate that's been signed both by me and by Sarah.
I get to start things off. I have the pleasure of introducing a truly wonderful young man, Will Applewhite, whom I had the pleasure of having as a student, as well as the pleasure of interacting with as a Parr Center fellow. We had the misfortune of only having Will as a fellow for 1 year, but I've been lucky enough to know him for much longer than that. Will is a talented and generous artist. So if any of you have seen the paintings of the ginkgo leaf that were on the page that you looked at when you came here, those were drawn by Will or painted by Will. And, you know, my favorite of Will's virtues is, Will, you have a genuine philosopher's curiosity about the world around you. And you're very concerned about the right way to live in that world. So I am so excited to see what you're going to go on and do. And it has been so wonderful to have you as part of our community.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob.
I have the pleasure of introducing Alex Corbett, who, after her wonderful speech, really needs no introduction. So I got to know Alex because I was the instructor this year for the course associated with the Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl competition. But Alex has also been a real presence in all the philosophy related parts of campus. So she's the president of the philosophy club. She is, with one other person, the co-founder of our undergraduate philosophy journal. Working for the Parr Center, she was in the pod that worked as officers for the Carolina Forum for Ethics, dealing with events. And I am, very grateful to have gotten to know and work with her. I think my favorite achievement of Alex, which is saying something, there are so many, is that she managed to get discussion of ethics banned at her workplace because there was so much of it beyond what the bosses were willing to hear. And so thank you. Congratulations to Alex.
Thank you.
This is Sally, you really just gave me a great lineup. This is another wonderful pleasure for me to be able to congratulate and send off Ike Crickmore. Ike has been a Parr Center fellow for 3 years. So that's meaningful to me because our tenures align. I've also been lucky enough to be at the Parr Center for 3 years. And Ike was a member of my pod in our inaugural year. He's now a very dynamic member of our blogging pod. But I would want to remember a story about Ike from my first year here. And Ike was really my partner in organizing maybe my favorite event that we've put on at the Parr Center, and partly because it was my first event, an event on ethics in fiction, which was a conversation with a novelist and a member of our English department. And Ike actually was the person introducing the event. And we met just shortly beforehand, and I was very worried. I felt like Ike might not know what he's getting into here. It doesn't seem like he's prepared. And we talked for a minute or two, and then he came out and just knocked it out of the park and gave such a wonderful introduction that kicked off a tremendously successful event. And so thank you, Ike. It's been a pleasure knowing you for the last 3 years. Go get him.
Thank you, Rob. Same to you.
This is a fun one too. Max is a visiting student, Max Forster from Germany. And Max has been with us for just this year. And I also have a wonderful story with Max. some of you may know that I for the last month or so during the quarantine, I ran or tried to run a quite sparsely attended discussion group for Parr Center Fellows. And at the first meeting, there had actually been a little bit of confusion about the invitations and the link, and many people came who did not realize that this was a discussion session just for Parr Center Fellows. And so we also ended up having a visitor from a tenured professor from the classics department, and actually probably one of the 10 best topologists in at least the 10 best young topologists, mathematicians in the world, whom I did not know well at all, who somehow had gotten the link and joined this discussion section. And Max was actually the only Parr Center fellow there amidst this sort of strange gathering. And he was characteristically wise and inquisitive. And he has eternally won a place in my heart because he recommended, for his recommendation to the entire group, Plato's Symposium, which is a favorite of mine. And so I think that speaks to Max's taste and depth. So it's been lovely getting to know you, Max, and congratulations today.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you to everyone at the Parr Center. It's been a really wonderful time. Thank you so much.
When Sally sent us this list and she said, you know what, I want you to say something nice about each of these people. And I looked at the list and I saw, you know, that Marina Greenfield is on my list. And I said, oh, say something nice about Marina. This is going to be incredibly easy. And then just recently, Sally told me to keep it short. And I realized it was actually going to be much more challenging to keep it short when talking about Marina. Marina has also been with us for 3 years. She's also one of the inaugural members of my pod. And this is kind of a sad memory, not really a sad memory, but I was trying very hard in my first year to plan this sort of larger event on the ethics of documentary film. And for various reasons, the event never got off the ground. But to this day, I remember the extraordinary amount of incredibly skillful and intelligent work that Marina put into that project. And it makes me feel like, you know, it should still happen just out of respect for the effort that she put in. And that is so characteristic of Marina, who is not just an incredibly smart, responsible, and hardworking person, but she also brings a calm and soulful and poetic presence to any community that she's a part of. And so I think everyone at the Parr Center knows how incredibly lucky we are to have Marina as a member of our community and continuing to be so. It is a privilege to come into work with you every day, Marina. And, you know, I aspire to be more like you as a person. So way to go.
Scott has been in the center again. So Rob and I both started the same year, and Scott was right there with us too. So this is his 3rd year with us at the Parr Center. He's always been working with the National High School Ethics Bowl with just the passion and drive that is so inspiring, honestly. I have come to know Scott so well, and we've talked about travels together and different things that he's done over the summer and places I want to go in the future. And it's just been so fantastic to get to know him. And I know for a fact that the National High School Ethics Bowl is as helpful and meaningful to students as it is, a lot because of Scott's work. So thanks, Scott.
Thank you for the kind words. I really appreciate it.
Next on my list, I have Miss Dominique Hicks. So Dominique is originally from Paris, and funny story is that we didn't swoop her in at the beginning of the year, but I saw her coming to all of our events and hanging around all of our students, and I was like, is she a fellow? Did we already accept her? I'm not sure. So I reached out and I was like, hey, you seem so passionate at these events. You ask great questions. We would love to have you. She graciously accepted my begging and has just been a fantastic addition in this last semester. at the Parr Center. She's really lit it on fire for the short amount of time that she's been here. It's wild to me. And so we're definitely going to miss her next year as she's gone, but we will keep in touch as best as we can. So thank you, Dominique.
Thank you, Sally. It was such a great experience. It was way too short.
Seamus has also been part of the fellowship for 3 years. He started right there with me and Rob. And I've just been so inspired by Seamus's discipline and innovative thought processes. He came in the second year and he said, I want to make an app for ethics. And I was like, I don't know what that even would entail. And so I just handed over the reins to him, and he's led now 2 groups these last 2 years in creating an ethics app. And now we have an ethics profiler that you'll learn about later from them. So I won't spoil it, but Seamus is just one of those quiet, diligent workers that cannot be missed any more than I'll miss him next year. So thank you so much, Seamus.
Thank you so much, Sally. It's been a pleasure working with you in this organization.
Hi, my name's Alex Richardson. I'm ending up my first year as the new director of the National High School Ethics Bowl. So most of the students that I will talk to you about have done some really great work there and have made that program everything that it is. So I want to first just say that the most delightful thing about my first year has been being in the Parr Center and seeing it be such a second home for students. And it isn't the same when students aren't there. You guys sort of make the entire experience. So the first student I'm going to introduce is Gabe Luna. He's a first-year fellow and a graduating senior from Goldsboro, North Carolina. He's a business administration major. We don't hold that against him, though. With minors in PPE and social and economic justice. Gabe was also the Parr Center's work study student this year, and his work has saved me numerous hours and numerous headaches and probably lots of other things as well. His help and his presence in the Parr Center not only made my first year as the NHSEB director easier, but made the program measurably better. So thank you, Gabe. Gabe plans to remain in North Carolina after graduation and take a job in logistics and operations management. So thanks, Gabe, for everything you've done.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you guys and work with you.
This is Spencer Mamo. He's a first-year fellow and a graduating senior from Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, and he's wearing a suit. This is new. He's a philosophy major with a CS minor. I'm told, after all, that he is very good with computers. Spencer has worked throughout the year on producing promotional and media materials for the High School Ethics Bowl program, writing cases, and more. He recently defended his undergrad thesis, The Meritedness of Apologies. So I think this week, actually, so congratulations on that front. After graduation, Spencer plans to pursue a graduate degree in theology at the University of St. Andrews. So congratulations, Spencer. We look forward to hearing great things from you. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciated being a part of the Parr Center.
Hunter Martin. And I have only known Hunter for 1 year. He was, again, in the course for the Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl, but Hunter has been in the Parr Center for now 3 years, which is longer than most. And he has worked both with outreach. We at the Parr Center have a number of programs bringing ethical discussions to people in the community, and this year with the Carolina Forum for Ethics. And Hunter has also written an honors thesis with Professor Ram Netta. And I had great joy in having him in my course. Hunter is one of the most thoughtful people I know. He's sort of soft-spoken and somewhat quiet, but then when he does say things, they're always things that are worth hearing. And he is leaving us now to the world of financial tech companies. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Continuing on, I next have the pleasure of introducing Jonathan Sampson. So I actually know Jonathan for longer than either of us have been really involved with the Parr Center. He took a course with me a couple of years ago, and I recruited him when I found that I would be teaching the Intercollegiate Ethics Bowl course. And he decided that he was willing to put up with another course with me, and arguing with people about ethics seemed like a fun thing to do. And then ended up as a Parr Center Fellow due to the recruitment of the people in that course. So I think that means that I'm largely responsible for him becoming a Parr Center Fellow, which I think is one of the more useful things I've done for the Parr Center in my year working here. Jonathan has been a wonderful student to have in both classes. In particular, it's really wonderful as a teacher because Jonathan is, you might say, allergic to consensus and always willing to take up the unpopular view and bring us out of a place of sort of unquestioning agreement into a place of more thoughtful reflection. And it's been great having you in 2 different classes. Thank you, and congrats.
Thank you so much, Carl. And I want to make a special thanks for Alex for basically, interviewing me and meeting him at our first ceremony, and allowing me to come into the Ethics Bowl, the high school Ethics Bowl pod itself. It's really been a highlight of my time at Carolina, the whole pod, and I love you guys. So it's been great. I hope we can keep in touch. Thanks.
And then the last introduction for me this evening is Hamish Stewart. Hamish Stewart has already left us to return to Scotland, and he is going to be continuing his education at the University of Glasgow. I got to know Hamish again in my teaching of the Ethics Bowl course. Hamish, this was his first year here and only year here at Carolina. So he heard about the course, and we had to conduct a phone interview, which was quite impressive. And the course required instructor permission, which he got. And then had a wonderful time with him in the course. Hamish has been one of the co-hosts of the podcast that's put out by undergraduates at the Parr Center. And that experience has led him to creating, and this is going to be getting off the ground soon, it's already approved, a philosophy podcast at University of Glasgow. So congratulations, Hamish, for taking things from here and expanding ethical and philosophical discussion to other universities, and good luck in the rest of your school. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Thank you for being such a great mentor to me, and thank you to everyone at the Parr Center for being incredible. And I really can't understate how much of an incredible thing the Parr Center is for international students, for getting to know local students. So thank you so much to everybody.
Jackie's a first-year fellow and a graduating senior from Brooklyn, New York. He's a double major in philosophy and political science. Jackie, as he already told you, is a near resident of the Parr Center, and much to our delight has worked on numerous projects this year, including case writing, media production, challenging us all with the weekly bake-off, which I can say firsthand every single one of us benefited from. After graduation, he plans to return to New York and will teach prep courses at a learning center in Brooklyn. Jackie, thank you so much for everything you've brought to the center. It's not the same without you.
Thank you. Thank you for a fantastic, truly unforgettable experience.
And last but not least, of course, we have Alec Way, who is a bit of a late add this year, but that's detracted none. He's a first-year fellow and a graduating senior from Raleigh, North Carolina. He's a double major in philosophy and economics. As I said, he joined the pod a bit late, but he's more than made up for lost time, doing more than most to prepare us for the North Carolina Ethics Bowl in January, compiling numerous score breakdowns, and working on our social media strategy. He's also supplied us with endless gem-themed comic relief, which, you know, is perhaps something that really contributes to the atmosphere of the place. After graduation, he plans to work as a performance coach in a baseball biomechanics lab in the Seattle area. And he knows what that is a lot better than I do. So that's all I have. I'm going to throw it back to Sally. Thanks, Alec.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for to our graduating and our international fellows. We'll miss you so dearly at the Parr Center, and you're always, always, always welcome to come back to visit. You're now an alum of the Parr Center for Ethics. Yay! In the next few days, you will be receiving some information about our alumni network that we're getting up off the ground, but I can say that some of our alums are present here tonight, and you're going to be in such great company, and we'll keep in touch, and this is not goodbye. This is just a new chapter. Thank you for your time and your dedication to ethics. Additionally, I would like to say a few thank yous. Thank you to Sarah Stroud for your guidance and championing of the fellowship. Thank you, Rob, for your fierce support, your well-crafted emails, and your soulful videos for all of the fellows to watch. Thank you, Alex, for your continuous enthusiasm and unlimited patience while leading your pod. They were a lot. They were wonderful, but we all know. Thank you, Carl, for your spirit, your courageous IEB coaching, and your spot-on recommendations for ideas for fellows moving forward. Thank you, Jordan, for your endless help with all of our events, especially tonight. You are smashing it with the tech, absolutely killing it. So thank you so much. And last but certainly not least, thank you, Marina, for jumping on board and joining us in a professional capacity. We're so lucky that we get to keep you. It's beyond my wildest dreams, so thank you.